George of the jungle, strong as he can be.
Okay, we've all heard the term OPM, and for those who think that it means other people's money, well, if we're talking about seller financing, we're really talking about other people's mortgages. Welcome to thecreditjungle.com. This is George Anderson. Thanks for coming back. And this is going to be a supplement onto the best fix and flip video that we talked about. And this is really going to be a segue into talking about seller financing in general, that I'm going to involve some other experts with this. I'm going to involve some other real estate agents and some attorneys that have a lot of experience on this, that can talk about the real estate side of things, that can talk about the legal side of things. I'm just going to spend a little time here dumping into the numbers side of it and limiting it to that from this perspective of a lender and how a lender would look at things. So let's go back to our situation here where we've got somebody that has an underlying mortgage. Now, a lot of these people that might have a distressed property have got a mortgage, they've been behind on their payments, they may not have very much equity. And a lot of people, rather than just sell the house and be able to try to really beat them up on it, sometimes using the carrot can be a little bit more successful with it. So let's just assume that somebody maybe has $6,000 to $8,000 in back mortgage payments that they're behind. You would offer to go and catch up those mortgage payments, give them a decent down payment, maybe $10,000 if they need some money for relocating. Everybody's going to be case by case, but the idea here is that you're going to be able to make the payment on their underlying mortgage indirectly to them. You're going to make it to a third-party escrow company where they would collect the payment, they would send their mortgage payment off to them, but then they would end up getting some cash flow in exchange for that. And the idea here is that a contract for deed, think of if you have a loan on a car. You have a contract with the bank, and then when you satisfy your contractual terms with the bank, in other words, if that is a loan that you have on the bank, once you've satisfied that, the bank will then release back to you the title. So in this situation, it's very similar. Under a contract for deed, the seller actually still has the title to the home. And for people who are investors and flippers and real estate agents and everything like that, I have a very good friend of mine with a large brokerage, and he always tells his agents, imagine yourself standing in front of the judge, okay? So if you have taken the title back from somebody's house and you've told them that you're going to make the mortgage payment and you maybe fell behind on it a little bit, it's not going to hurt you at all, but it's going to have an effect on their credit. And if you have a real estate license or any other type of professional license in the real estate business, if you're an appraiser, a title industry, or in the mortgage industry, okay, you're an expert, you should know better than that. So the nice thing about a contract for deed is that it gives the seller some recourse against you without having to foreclose to be able to get the property back. And that's something that you can be in front of a judge and you can have a straight face and you can say, this is the way I purchased the property because it protected the seller's equity in the home, but it also gave me equitable interest in the home. And we'll get into that concept, what equitable interest is, in another discussion with somebody who can speak on it on legal terms. So anyway, so we're going to have the seller's underlying mortgage here is a $1,313 payment, and we're going to have come up with $20,000 to be able to get into this home. We had a purchase price of $300,000. That means that we still owe the seller $280,000, but the seller owes $275,000. So the seller still has $5,000 worth of cash that's still sitting in this property. Well, when do they get that additional, that remaining $5,000 of cash? Well, we're going to go in here and rehab this home, and let's just say that it's a 6-month project. Well, during that time, we're going to be making a lot of capital improvements into the home. Maybe there's tens of thousands of dollars that have gone into the home because we know that once it's been rehabbed, that there's going to be profit in that. In the meantime, the seller is also going to be getting $190 per month of cash flow because our contract to the seller is going to be for $280,000 at 5% interest, whereas the seller's underlying mortgage is $275,000 at 4% interest. So that's that delta, that change, the difference between this loan term and this loan term is $190 a month. So the seller has some incentive to do that. And then just think about it. If you put in a bunch of money and time and effort into the property to make it worth more money and you default, do you think the seller's okay if they had to take their home back with $50,000 worth of repairs done on it? Absolutely. So what it really does is it puts the burden of proof on you as the buyer that you're going to perform because you really are using the seller's mortgage, and this is a good way to keep yourself out of any legal entanglements on it. But this is a win-win scenario for everybody again. So again, this contract for deed, you as have the equitable interest, which will be recorded. There will be a document recorded with the county that establishes your position, points back to the contractual terms that you have, and you have the right to sell that home. And every profit, every dollar amount that you have that's above this contract balance, that becomes your money. This remaining $5,000 of equity becomes the seller's money, and while the seller's waiting, they get their cash flow on this. So a contract for deed, again, this is just one aspect of using seller financing, in this case on a fix and flip, to be able to create a win-win situation between you and the seller to entice them to maybe come over and see the advantages of what you would be doing, let them know that they're protected because they have the title to the home still. And the benefits for you is that you didn't have to take out a hard money loan. You got carrying costs and closing costs that were substantially less expensive than if you had to go get that from a private or an institutional lender. And you don't have a balloon payment or anything else unless you've negotiated with that with the seller. So there's ways to be able to structure these real estate transactions where everybody wins. And the nice part about it from a financing term, if you decide to keep this property as a long-term investment property, guess what you can do if you have a car loan and you find out that the car now, there's a bank that offers a better interest rate on your car loan. Do you need to have the title to your car to be able to refinance it? No. You can go and refinance and the bank will transfer the title from that one to that one. Or in this case, you can actually refinance your equitable interest in that home based on the new and improved higher value of that home, because maybe after you're done it's not worth $300,000, maybe it's worth $360,000, and now you have a nice chance to refinance and get a good mortgage loan with no mortgage insurance, and yet you put in much less money than what you would have had to have done if you were trying to get a traditional investment loan on this home. So anyway, there's benefits all around for this. And again, contract for deed, something we're just going to introduce the concept here, and we're going to show some really clever applications for this down the road. So hopefully this helps explain just some options on how to get some fix and flip financing that would be less expensive out of pocket and also less expensive on your cash flow, and make things a little easier for everybody involved. Remember, you can push button, get Mortgage Professional. This is George Anderson. This is thecreditjungle.com, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Have a wonderful day.